What's up, guys? It's DomQuichotte for fxray.com. Welcome to another Photoshop tutorial. What are we going to do today? We're going to add a wet glass right in front of our photograph. This technique is very versatile, as you can see in our examples. You can either imitate a shower curtain or glass or just a window on a cold and rainy day. You can even use this technique to simply paint something on a wet glass. Isn't that fantastic? It is. So let's get started. First thing I want to do in Photoshop is select the background layer, right-click and convert to Smart Object and rename it. With the background layer selected, I'm going to Layer, Duplicate Layer, and name it Blur and hit OK. Well, as you can imagine, this layer will be blurred, so go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and let's set the radius pretty high. Maybe 50 pixels. We're working on a smart object, so we can edit this value anytime. So here's the blurred version. Next thing I want to do is I want to add the texture. So go to File, Place Embedded, and here I have a water drops texture file you guys can download for free, which is basically a real wet window we photographed. Here's a video of the actual window. So as you can see, nothing special. Okay, since that's a really big file from a Sony Alpha 7R Mark II, we can really make this big like that. To make the window transparent but leave all the details, I'm going to set the texture layer to hard light. And now you can see the blurred picture behind, but the window is getting really bright. So let's create an adjustment layer, brightness contrast. And by holding the Alt or Option key and clicking between those two layers, I can clip the upper layer to the lower layer, which you can see on the arrow. So with the adjustment layer selected, I want to add contrast to max and decrease the brightness to make the window darker and more transparent. I think -70 works fine here, at least for now. Let's select both layers and put them into a group by pressing on that icon, name it Water Drops, and that will be the texture for now. Okay, that's pretty cool so far, but the thing is that we only see a blurred picture behind a glass at the moment. And we want to make that a little bit more realistic by adding sharp elements as well. So let's hide the Water Drops group for a moment. To get back some of the original image, I select the blurred layer and add a layer mask. And with the mask selected, I go to the brush tool and select a hard black brush. And as soon as I start painting on that mask, the picture behind the blurred layer, which is the original image, is going to be visible. Okay, that's not exactly what I wanted, so let's start over. This time I want to add some nice strokes. So I hold the Shift key and click again. And that I'm going to repeat a couple times, reduce the brush size. By holding the Alt key and clicking on the layer mask, I can switch to the mask view and get a better idea of what I'm currently doing. Right now I'm adding more strokes. The more strokes, the more will be visible of the original, the sharp picture. Let's speed up a bit. Couple more of those small lines here. And I think we're good. Let's switch back to the original view, and if we zoom in, we see that we have perfectly straight lines, which isn't quite what we want. So let's switch back to the mask and go to Filter, Distort, Wave. With the wave filter, I can add complex waves to my image depending on the settings I make. Let's set the number of generators very low to about 30. And play with the maximal wavelength, but leave the amplitude to 1 and 2 and the scale to 101. Around 200 seems to work fine. Okay, let's see. Looks good so far. What I can also do is go to Filter, Distort, Ripple, and let me play with the amount here to see how the edges are being affected. I think 220 works fine. Perfect. Let's switch back to normal view, and now we see how we created the small water trails. So let's bring back the texture and take a closer look. Not bad at all. So that is one method, and since we work with Smart Object, it's really easy to replace the image by double-clicking on the layer and simply adding another image here. I have another one from the series. And let's just confirm this, close the image and hit save. And Photoshop instantly replaced all Smart Objects with the new content. Isn't that cool? Okay, let's undo this replacement. And I want to show you another method. For that, add a new empty layer above the blurred layer. Hold the Command key and click on the layer mask to select the strokes. Then go to Select, Inverse. Then go to Edit, Fill, and select Black Color. So what we actually did, we put the strokes from the mask on a separate layer, so I don't need the layer mask any longer. Okay, so we have the blurred layer and we have the new layer with the strokes. Next, I want to duplicate the original layer above those strokes. Select the layer, hold Alt key and move it up, and make it a clipping mask like we did earlier with the adjustment layer. So the effect is pretty much the same with the layer mask, but let's step back, rename the layer and duplicate it with the Command J. Press Command T and transform the new strokes and also alter the other strokes. So now we have more of those trails. Select both layers and put them into a new group. Let's say water. And now I can add the original copy as a clipping mask to the whole folder instead of a single layer. This way I can create and edit multiple layers and make even more complex water trails. Only thing is, it needs to be within the folder. Right? What I can also do is I can add a mask to the group, select a soft brush with, let's say, low opacity, and try to fade out some of those trails to create an even more realistic look by imitating steam. Okay, let's activate the water drops group. That's a really cool result. One more thing, let me just check if I can go a little bit bigger with that thing here. That's just fine. Maybe increase the brightness slightly. And I want to reduce the opacity of the water drops texture to around 60%. And that's it, guys. That's the tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it. Looking forward to seeing your results on Facebook or wherever. My name is DomQuichotte. See you next time.